Finally at JFK Airport. All I've been wanting is some coffee. Finally got it. Like more lines. So up until this point, the process should pretty much be kind of the same for everyone, unless you are gonna get a visa. If you're gonna get a visa, get that, get all the paperwork and all the things you have to do early. Whether you have a visa or not matters in terms of what options you have for quarantining. For within 72 hours of leaving, you have to get your COVID PCR test. And it has to be a PCR test. It cannot be one of the rapid ones. And once you get the results, print it out. I just needed one copy. No one took it. But if you want to be safe, print out, 2 copies or something. Before you board your plane and when you're getting your boarding class, they will check to see if you got a negative COVID PCR result. So have that handy. You're gonna board your plane. Hopefully it won't be too long. It'll be, have some space. And once you arrive at Incheon Airport, you will deboard. There's kind of 3 lines. There will be a line for Korean nationals. There's a line for foreigners. And there's also like a small line, people who are transferring within the airport. And so while you're on the plane, they should have given you forms to fill out. One is like customs form. One's like an arrival, like tiny arrival form. One is a health declaration form, basically saying that, you don't have symptoms of fever or cough or anything. There might have been more. But there are forms, but the airlines will have it. And if the airlines don't have it, when you deboard the plane, they have so many forms. So you get off the plane, there's these 3 lines, and the first checkpoint, I guess, is just it's a health checkpoint. Those people here, they're just doing a temperature check as well as checking for that COVID PCR result. And then they will also be asking where you're staying, where you're quarantining, and a Korean phone number that they can reach. Did not do this, and it's fine if you don't. I did not get a SIM card before leaving, but if you don't get a SIM card, make sure you have the name and phone number of someone that can vouch for you that you're going to be in Korea and then where you're staying. And for me, my dorm assistant was fine that I put her number down. I have heard Airbnbs, hosts are usually okay with that. Or if you have a friend or relatives, because they might call that number. So after the health check, you're gonna go to, I guess, where customs is. But before you actually get to the customs line, there will be people that are trying to make sure that you downloaded the app, the self-quarantine app. And you can actually download this app ahead of time. And when you input your information, they're gonna ask, I think, for an ID of an employee or something, or a government official. But that ID is actually Corona, CORONA. Then you input that in. So these guys here, they're really just making sure that you have the app down, that you put the right information in. It is important that you have the address of where you will be staying, either after government quarantine or for your self-quarantine. Also, a Korean phone number. So the guys in the line will help make sure that you have the app down. And then there's some guys at the desk that are gonna verify your information. And for me, they did call the dorm assistant. And this is all important because you get logged into which, I guess, district or area of Seoul or wherever you will be in, and those public health officials, that public health office of that area, I think is in charge of monitoring you or making sure that you are checking into the app every day. I have heard other people that they didn't call a Korean phone number for them, and other people they just checked, and other people it seems like you're supposed to have someone else's number, but if you have your own SIM card, that is okay too. I think they just want a way that they can contact you. I feel like that's checkpoint number 2. And then after that, then you can actually get into line for customs, like what you're used to, where they customs officer look at your passport, they stamp your passport book. Except they didn't give stamps to Korea, they gave this printout. If you don't have a visa and you're not going to self-quarantine, they have someone else bring you to another office where they will process you, I think, into the government facility, I don't know, databases thing. And then you finally get out. I think you go down was it downstairs, I think? And then you can pick up your baggage. And then on your way out, if you have anything to declare, you can declare, or if you have nothing to declare, you just drop off that like customs declaration form off. And then you leave, and then you get to officially be on, I think, Korean land. And then we'll go back to the story. This is the never-ending journey. I just want to unwind. Now we're all waiting. Guys at like the front desk at like the exit, they will see your papers. You get all these papers about like, I think, what kind of quarantine you have, how long you stay here, when your quarantine starts, etc. They would sort of direct you, and I got directed to this other side. I'm waiting with other people who needed to be in government facilities. You will not know which hotel, which facility you're going to. They don't know. It's just kind of, I don't know, I think luck, or like it's random. So I had to wait even more. And then finally, I think someone came and got us, and then we went to like another waiting area to wait for the shuttle bus that would take us to the quarantine facility. And then at the quarantine facility, at our quarantine facility, once you arrive, you have to sit down, you have to pay for your quarantine, the government facility up front. They take credit card, fill out some more paperwork. I think they get a copy of your passport. You have to download a separate app, and this is, I think, specifically for the government facility. I think one is for self-quarantine, the other is for government facility. Both of these apps, you're supposed to check in twice a day, your temperature, which is why they give you a thermometer, as well as if you have any symptoms. And if you don't do that, I think someone might call you, your phone might like make some noises. For me, when I got there, that public health officer said I only needed the government facility one. I didn't need the other one, but just in case there was things lost in translation, I just did it anyway. I just input it into both applications twice a day. It only takes like 30 seconds, so I was like, why not? If you're at a government facility, you will get your PCR test right there. I want to go over what happens if you are self-quarantining, so you are not going to the government facility. There are also shuttle buses, which are really, really convenient. So depending where you're gonna self-quarantine, at an Airbnb or something, you can take these shuttle buses because they will drop you off at the public health office where you can do your COVID PCR tests immediately. Because if you don't do it once you get into Seoul or into Korea, you have to get it within 24 hours of arriving, and you might have to walk there. So it's just more convenient if you can take an airport shuttle bus. They do close, I think, after a certain time, so at night they don't run. And then after you take the airport shuttle bus to the public health office where you will get your COVID PCR test, there are people there that can drive you straight or directly to your Airbnb or your home or wherever you're gonna self-quarantine for, which is super convenient. You also have an option of taking a taxi. You can also have excuse me. You can also have family pick you up. Just got into my quarantine hotel. Oh, just looks just a normal hotel room. Oh, home for 2 weeks. Oh, you finally made it. Oh my God, a mess. Been awake for probably more than 24 hours. I really thought I could have cried at the airport just because it was such a long friggin' day. And when it's long and then you're by yourself, you're just like missing people and your familiar surroundings. But I'm here. I'm still feeling pretty exhausted. I've been up since 4. Now it's 7. Spent most of the early morning organizing because I like nesting. So I like putting my things in boxes, and each place has its home. They gave this box self-monitoring sanitary kit. Has some masks, digital thermometer, sanitizing gel.